Welcome to Monk's Temple. Let us begin by simply arriving. Not somewhere else, but right here. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breath, the subtle rise and fall of your chest, the simple fact of your presence in this moment. Before we explore the great questions of existence, we must first ground ourselves in the only place where answers can ever truly be found, the present moment. There is a question that has followed humanity like a shadow since the beginning of self-awareness. Why are we here? Where did we come from, and where are we going? Some days it arrives softly, in a moment of quiet reflection. Other days it crashes over us like a wave, during times of loss, during moments of profound joy, when we hold a newborn child or when we stand at a graveside. Before we go further, try something. Bring to mind a habit you have. Any habit will do. Perhaps it is reaching for your phone first thing in the morning. Perhaps it is a phrase you use often, a tone that creeps into your voice when you are frustrated. Perhaps it is the way your shoulders tense when you think about a particular situation. Just notice one habit. Do not judge it. Simply observe it. Now consider this: how long have you had this habit? Where did it come from? Did you consciously choose to develop it, or did it emerge through repetition, through countless small choices that eventually solidified into something automatic? And here is the most important question: if this habit developed through repetition, could it also be changed through repetition? This simple line of inquiry opens a door. Behind that door lies a vast landscape of understanding about who we are and why we are here. The Buddha approached these questions not as a philosopher constructing abstract theories, but as a physician diagnosing a condition. The condition he identified is universal: we suffer. We experience dissatisfaction, anxiety, restlessness, a sense that something is not quite right, even when external circumstances appear favorable. The Buddha's diagnosis was that we suffer because we misunderstand ourselves. We believe we are solid, permanent, separate entities. We believe we are the thoughts that arise in our minds, the emotions that flow through us, the stories we tell about our lives. But when we look closely, we discover that what we call I is actually a process, a flowing stream of causes and conditions, of habits and tendencies, of seeds planted long ago that continue to bear fruit in the present moment. Consider a woman named Margaret who came to a meditation center carrying a visible weight. Margaret was a successful architect in her early 50s. By any external measure, her life was a success. But internally, Margaret was drowning. She lived with a constant, low-level dread that something terrible was about to happen. She checked door locks 3 times before bed. She lay awake running through worst-case scenarios. During a private conversation, Margaret shared something she had never told anyone. When she was 6 years old, her father had died suddenly of a heart attack. He had tucked her into bed, kissed her forehead, and by morning, he was gone. The 6-year-old mind, unable to process such abrupt loss, had drawn a conclusion: the world is unsafe. People you love disappear without warning. You must always be prepared for catastrophe. For nearly 5 decades, Margaret had been living according to this conclusion. The seed of fear, planted in a moment of childhood trauma, had been watered daily by worry, by vigilance, by the endless rehearsal of disaster scenarios. When Margaret began to understand her fear as a conditioned habit rather than an unchangeable fact about herself, something shifted. She began to see that the fear was not her. It was a visitor that had overstayed its welcome. And visitors can be shown the door. This is the beginning of wisdom, recognizing that what we have taken to be our solid self is actually a collection of habits. And if it is conditioned, it can be reconditioned. If it is a habit, it can be changed. If this journey into understanding the mind is resonating with you, please consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. Your support allows these teachings to reach more people who are searching for clarity and peace. The work Margaret began was not easy. The fear habit was decades old, deeply entrenched. But she now had a new tool, awareness. When the fear arose, she began to simply notice it. "Ah, fear is here," she would say, not with judgment but with recognition. She stopped trying to solve the imagined disasters, stopped the endless mental rehearsal. She just watched the fear as one watches clouds passing across the sky. When she stopped feeding the fear with her attention, it began to lose its power. It still arose, but it didn't stay as long. The spaces between fear episodes grew longer. This is karma in action. Not karma as cosmic accounting, but karma as the simple law of cause and effect in the realm of mind. Every thought is an action. Every word is an action. Every deed is an action. And every action leaves a trace, plants a seed, shapes the landscape of our future experience. The Buddha expressed this with elegant simplicity: all that we are is the result of what we have thought. What we think, we become. This is not philosophy to be believed. It is an invitation to investigate. Look at your own life. Look at the patterns that repeat. Where did they come from? They came from previous thoughts, previous actions, previous choices. And where are they going? They are shaping the person you will become tomorrow, next year, in your next moment of existence. This brings us to a question that many find challenging: if the mind continues after death, if the stream of habits does not simply cease when the physical body can no longer support it, then what happens? The Buddha's answer is both simple and profound. It flows to where it is drawn, pulled by the very same forces that have shaped it throughout life. The mind that has cultivated kindness will find itself drawn to circumstances where kindness can continue. The mind that has cultivated anger will find itself drawn to circumstances that reflect anger. This is not reward and punishment. It is simply continuation, the fruit of seeds planted. Let us sit with this idea for a moment longer. The stream of habits, tendencies, and preferences that we call me does not begin at birth and does not end at death. This is not a belief to adopt. It is a possibility to investigate. Consider the alternative view, the one that dominates much of modern thinking, that consciousness is merely a byproduct of brain chemistry, that when the brain dies, everything simply ceases. This view leaves many questions unanswered. How does matter give rise to the subjective experience of being alive? How does a collection of neurons produce the feeling of love, the experience of color, the sense of self? These are not small questions. They are mysteries that science has not yet solved and may never fully solve. The Buddhist view offers a different framework. It suggests that consciousness is not produced by the brain but rather uses the brain as an instrument, much as a musician uses a violin. When the violin breaks, the music does not cease to exist. The musician, the skill, the tendency to play in a particular style, these continue and will find expression through a new instrument when conditions allow. Think of a river. The water that flows past you now is not the same water that flowed past an hour ago. New water is constantly arriving from upstream. Yet we still call it the same river. Why? Because the pattern, the direction, the momentum continues. You are like that river. The physical matter of your body is constantly changing. Cells die and are replaced. The body you had 7 years ago is gone, replaced by new cells. Yet something continues, the pattern, the memory, the tendency, the you-ness that makes you recognizable to yourself and others. This continuity is what Buddhism calls the mind stream. It flows from moment to moment within this life, and it flows from life to life after death. What determines where it flows? The same thing that determines where any river flows. The landscape it has carved for itself over time. A river that has cut a deep channel will continue to follow that channel. A mind that has cultivated certain habits will continue to follow those habits. Let me tell you about a man named James. James was a corporate lawyer in his 40s who came to a meditation retreat not because he believed in anything spiritual, but because his doctor had told him his stress levels were dangerous. James was successful by any standard. He had a corner office, a substantial income, a beautiful home. He also had a temper that had cost him 2 marriages and the respect of his children. During the retreat, James was asked to simply sit and observe his mind. What he discovered shocked him. Within minutes of sitting quietly, his mind would generate scenarios of conflict. He would imagine arguments with colleagues, rehearse cutting remarks he could have made in meetings, replay old grievances with his ex-wife. The habit of aggression was so deeply ingrained that his mind defaulted to it automatically, even when there was nothing external to provoke it. James saw clearly that he was not choosing to think these thoughts. They were arising on their own, driven by momentum, by years of practice in the art of conflict. This is a crucial insight. Much of what we think and feel is not chosen in the moment. It is habitual, conditioned, automatic. We are running on programs installed long ago, reinforced by repetition. The good news is that programs can be rewritten. New habits can be formed. But first, we must see the old ones clearly. There was a woman named Helen who attended the same retreat. Helen was a nurse, compassionate and hardworking, but she carried a deep sadness that never fully lifted. During a guided meditation, she was invited to bring to mind a recent moment of sadness and simply observe it without judgment. As she sat with the feeling, she noticed something remarkable. The sadness was not one thing but many things, a tightness in her chest, a heaviness behind her eyes, a stream of thoughts about being unworthy, a memory of her mother's voice saying something critical when she was 8 years old. The sadness was a complex construction, built from physical sensations, mental images, and old recordings that had been playing for decades. When Helen saw this, the sadness did not disappear immediately, but it lost some of its solidity. She could no longer believe it was simply who she was. It was a collection of conditioned phenomena, held together by attention and belief. And if it was conditioned, it could be unconditioned. This is the work of mindfulness, seeing through the illusion of a solid, permanent self to the fluid, conditioned processes that actually constitute our experience. The Buddha compared this to dismantling a house. When you look closely at a house, you do not find houseness. You find wood, nails, glass, stone, arranged in a particular way. Remove the arrangement, and the house is gone. Similarly, when you look closely at the self, you do not find a permanent essence. You find thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions, habits of mind. Remove the identification with these phenomena, and the solid self begins to dissolve. Now we arrive at a question that often arises when discussing these ideas. If there is no permanent self, what is it that continues from life to life? This is an excellent question, and the answer reveals the subtlety of the Buddha's teaching. What continues is not a soul, not a fixed entity, but a process. It is like the flame of a candle used to light another candle. The second flame is not identical to the first, the molecules burning are different, the moment is different. Yet it is not entirely different either. There is continuity, a causal connection, without identity. Consider your own life right now. Are you the same person you were at age 7? The atoms in your body have been replaced many times. Your beliefs have changed. Your preferences have shifted. Your understanding has deepened. Yet there is a continuity, a thread of memory and tendency that makes your life a single story rather than many unrelated ones. You are not the same, yet you are not completely different. This is the nature of continuity without fixed identity. When the body dies, this process continues. The momentum of habits, the accumulated tendencies of a lifetime, do not simply vanish. They seek expression. They are drawn to conditions that match their frequency, much as a particular radio signal is drawn to a receiver tuned to its wavelength. A mind saturated with kindness and generosity will find itself drawn to circumstances where those qualities can continue to develop. A mind saturated with anger and cruelty will find itself drawn to circumstances that reflect and reinforce those qualities. This brings us to the 6 realms of existence mentioned in the Buddhist teachings. It is important to understand these not as physical locations but as psychological and existential states. They are dimensions of experience that we can observe in our own minds on any given day, and they are also possibilities for rebirth after death. The hell realm is the state of intense hatred, fear, and aggression. We have all visited this realm. Think of a moment when you were so consumed by rage that you could not think clearly, when your mind was a burning, torturous place. That is the hell realm, experienced right here. A person whose mind habitually resides in this state is generating the causes to be reborn in a correspondingly hellish existence. The realm of hungry ghosts is the state of insatiable craving. These beings have huge, empty stomachs and tiny mouths. They are tormented by desires they cannot satisfy. Psychologically, this is the state of endless wanting. It is the feeling that happiness is just around the corner, just beyond the next purchase, the next achievement, the next relationship. But when you arrive at that corner, happiness is not there. It has moved further ahead. The person who lives their life chasing one desire after another, never finding lasting peace, is living in the realm of hungry ghosts. Let me tell you about Richard, a man who exemplified this realm. Richard was wealthy by any measure. He owned multiple homes, drove expensive cars, and had an investment portfolio that most people would envy. Yet Richard was never satisfied. He was constantly researching his next purchase, his next upgrade, his next financial goal. When he bought a house, he immediately began planning renovations. When he acquired a car, he started reading reviews of newer models. His mind was never at rest because it was always focused on what it did not yet have. One day, Richard's daughter asked him a simple question, "Dad, are you happy?" The question stopped him cold. He realized he did not know the answer. He had been so focused on acquiring that he had never stopped to experience what he already had. His entire life had become a perpetual reaching, a constant hunger that could never be satisfied because satisfaction was not the goal, reaching was the goal. The animal realm is the state of ignorance and instinct. It is living on autopilot, driven by basic urges without self-awareness. We see this when we react without thinking, when we are driven by habit and conditioning, when we are asleep to our own potential. The human realm is the precious middle ground, where pleasure and pain mix, where we have enough comfort to not be in constant survival mode and enough suffering to be motivated to find a way out of it. It is the ideal state for awakening. The realm of the jealous gods, or asuras, is the state of constant competition. These beings have power and pleasure, but they are always comparing themselves to others, always fighting, always afraid of losing what they have. This is the mind that measures self-worth against the achievements of others, that is tormented by envy, that cannot rest because someone else might be gaining ground. Finally, the heavenly realm is the state of refined bliss. This is experienced in moments of deep meditation, of selfless love, of profound peace. But like all conditioned states, it is impermanent. The bliss fades, and the being eventually falls from that realm when their good karma is exhausted. Understanding these 6 realms as psychological states transforms how we view our daily experience. Every moment offers an opportunity to observe which realm we are inhabiting. When someone cuts you off in traffic and rage flares up, you can recognize, the hell realm is manifesting. When you find yourself scrolling endlessly through social media, envying the lives others present to the world, you can recognize, here is the Asura realm, the realm of comparison and competition. When you sink into a state of numbed-out autopilot, watching television without truly watching, eating without truly tasting, you can recognize, now I am in the animal realm, the realm of unconscious habit. This recognition is not a judgment. It is simply awareness. And awareness is the first step toward freedom. You cannot change what you do not see. But once you see clearly which realm you are inhabiting, you have a choice. You can stay there, feeding that state with your attention, or you can gently shift your awareness, water a different seed, move toward a different realm. Consider the story of Maria, a young woman who struggled with what she called her jealousy problem. Maria was a talented artist, but she could not look at another artist's work without feeling a painful twinge of envy. She would see a painting more successful than hers and immediately feel smaller, less than, inadequate. This jealousy poisoned her relationships with other artists and, more importantly, poisoned her relationship with her own creativity. She would avoid galleries, avoid art openings, avoid the very community that could have supported her growth. During a period of intensive practice, Maria began to study her jealousy with mindfulness. She noticed that it was not a single feeling but a cascade of events. First came the perception of another's success. Then came a comparison thought, her work is better than mine. Then came a physical sensation, tightness in the chest, heat in the face. Then came a story, I will never be that good. I am a failure. Everyone can see I am a fraud. Then came the behavior. Withdrawal, avoidance, criticism of the other artist's work. Seeing this cascade clearly, Maria realized something important. The jealousy was not her. It was a conditioned response, a habit pattern that had been reinforced countless times. She had learned, somewhere along the way, to measure her worth by comparison. This learning was so deep that it operated automatically, beneath the level of conscious choice. But now, with awareness, she could begin to interrupt the pattern. The next time jealousy arose, Maria did something different. Instead of believing the thoughts and following them into withdrawal, she simply noticed, the jealousy habit is active. She felt the tightness in her chest without trying to make it go away. She watched the comparison thoughts arise and pass without engaging with them. And then, deliberately, she watered a different seed. She thought of something she genuinely appreciated about the other artist's work. She allowed herself to feel admiration instead of envy. She remembered that another artist's success did not diminish her own potential. This was not easy. The jealousy habit pushed back, hard. But Maria persisted, moment by moment, choice by choice. This is karma in action at the most intimate level. Every time Maria chose admiration over envy, she weakened the seed of jealousy and strengthened the seed of generosity. Every time she stayed present with the physical sensations of envy instead of acting on them, she created a tiny crack in the armor of the old habit. Over time, those cracks widened. The jealousy did not disappear completely, but it lost its power to control her behavior. She could walk into a gallery now and feel a mixture of feelings, admiration, inspiration, perhaps a twinge of the old envy, but she was no longer a slave to any of them. She was free to choose her response. This freedom to choose is what makes the human realm so precious. In the hell realm, choice is overwhelmed by the intensity of suffering. In the heavenly realm, choice is unnecessary because everything is pleasant. In the animal realm, choice is absent because there is no self-awareness. But in the human realm, we have enough awareness to see our patterns and enough freedom to begin changing them. This is why human birth is considered so valuable in the Buddhist tradition. It is the ideal situation for spiritual growth, for the gradual purification of the mind, for the long work of uprooting the causes of suffering. The question naturally arises, if we have this freedom, why do so many people remain stuck in unhelpful patterns? The answer is simple. Because change requires effort, and effort requires motivation, and motivation requires seeing clearly that the current situation is unsatisfactory. Many people do not see clearly. They have grown so accustomed to their suffering that they mistake it for normal. They have lived with anxiety so long they cannot imagine life without it. They have carried resentment so long they have forgotten what forgiveness feels like. The first step, always, is seeing. And seeing requires a certain kind of attention, the kind of attention we are cultivating right now, in this very moment, as we explore these teachings together. Let us now turn our attention to a question that naturally arises from everything we have discussed. If our habits and tendencies carry forward from life to life, what about memories? Why do we not remember our past lives? This question has puzzled many, and the Buddha addressed it directly. He used the analogy of a person traveling from one village to another. When they arrive in the new village, they do not spend their time obsessively remembering the old one. They are occupied with the business of living in the present. Memories arise only when conditions are right, when something triggers them, when the mind is quiet enough to receive them. For most people, the conditions are not right. The noise of this life, the constant demands of survival and relationship, the endless stream of new impressions, all of this keeps past life memories buried. But for some, particularly young children, the veil between lives is thinner. They have not yet been fully socialized into forgetting. They have not yet learned that their memories are impossible and should be dismissed. Consider the case of a boy named Samuel, born in a small town in Oregon. From the moment he could speak, Samuel spoke of his other mother. He described a house with a blue door, a dog named Max, and a swing set in the backyard. He spoke of an accident, a feeling of falling, then nothing. His parents, practical and skeptical, dismissed this as imagination. But Samuel was persistent. He would cry for his other mother. He would ask to go home to the house with the blue door. He drew pictures of a family that was not his family. When Samuel was 5, his parents took him to a child psychologist. During one session, Samuel described the accident in detail. He had been riding his bicycle down a hill, he said, when the brakes failed. He hit a tree. He remembered the impact, then darkness, then being born again. The psychologist, who had studied under a colleague familiar with Ian Stevenson's work, asked careful questions. Samuel mentioned a town name he had never heard of in his current life. He described a street. He named his other parents. Curiosity led the psychologist to investigate. The town existed. The street existed. And records showed that 8 years before Samuel's birth, a 7-year-old boy had died in a bicycle accident on that very street, after his brakes failed on a steep hill. The boy's name was different from what Samuel had said, but the details matched perfectly. The house had a blue door. The family had a dog named Max. How do we explain such a case? The materialist explanation, that the child somehow acquired this information through normal means, strains credibility. A 5-year-old in Oregon does not accidentally learn the details of a child's death in a town he has never visited, a death that occurred before he was born. The Buddhist explanation is simpler: Samuel was remembering. The stream of consciousness that had been that boy continued and found a new physical instrument. The memories, deeply etched by the trauma of a sudden death, carried over. Not all past life memories are traumatic. Some are simply the continuation of ordinary life. A woman named Clara, a gifted pianist from childhood, always felt an inexplicable connection to Vienna. When she visited the city for the first time as an adult, she found herself navigating streets she had never seen as if she knew them. She stopped in front of a particular building and felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Not memory exactly, but recognition, a sense of coming home. Later, researching the building's history, she discovered that a music teacher had lived there in the late 19th century, a woman who had taught piano to generations of students. Clara could not prove she had been that woman. But the feeling never left her, and it colored her playing with a depth and passion that distinguished her from other musicians. These stories are not offered as proof. They are offered as invitations to consider a wider view of reality, a view that includes continuity beyond a single lifetime. The scientific mind demands proof, and rightly so. But what counts as proof? For many, only laboratory experiments under controlled conditions qualify. Yet the most significant truths of human existence, love, meaning, consciousness itself, do not yield easily to laboratory conditions. We must investigate them with other tools. With careful observation, with reasoned reflection, with the direct investigation of our own experience. This brings us to an important distinction between belief and direct knowing. The Buddha repeatedly encouraged his followers not to accept his teachings on blind faith, but to investigate for themselves. He compared his teachings to a goldsmith testing metal. A goldsmith does not accept that a piece of metal is gold simply because someone says so. They cut it, melt it, test it in various ways until they know for themselves. In the same way, we are encouraged to test the teachings against our own experience. What does this mean practically? It means we do not need to accept rebirth as a belief. We can simply hold it as a hypothesis and see what happens when we live as if it were true. Does this view lead to greater kindness? Does it make us more patient with ourselves and others? Does it provide a framework for understanding suffering that feels more coherent than the alternatives? These are the tests that matter. Consider the story of Robert, a man who spent 20 years as a strict materialist. Robert was a physicist, trained to believe that only matter is real, that consciousness is an illusion produced by brain activity. He was content with this view until his younger brother died suddenly of a heart attack at age 42. The grief Robert experienced was unlike anything he had known. It was not just sadness, it was a sense of wrongness, of something unfinished, of a connection brutally severed. In the months that followed, Robert found himself thinking about his brother constantly. He would have dreams in which his brother appeared, vivid dreams that felt different from ordinary dreams. In one dream, his brother smiled and said, "I'm okay. It's not what we thought." Robert woke with a sense of peace that lasted for days. His scientific mind told him this was wishful thinking, a product of his own grief. But another part of him, a part he had never fully acknowledged, wondered. Robert began to read about near-death experiences, about children who remembered past lives, about the research of scientists who had investigated these phenomena. He approached this reading with the same critical eye he brought to his physics research. He looked for flaws in methodology, for alternative explanations. But the more he read, the more he encountered cases that resisted easy dismissal. He was particularly struck by the work of cardiologists who had documented cases of patients accurately describing events that occurred while they were clinically dead, with no brain activity. Robert never became a believer in the conventional sense. But he did become open. He allowed the possibility that consciousness might be more than brain chemistry, that death might not be the end. This opening changed him. He became less rigid in his views, more compassionate in his interactions, more willing to sit with mystery rather than demanding answers. His grief did not disappear, but it softened. He began to feel that his brother was not entirely gone, that something of their connection continued. This is what a working hypothesis can do. It does not require certainty. It only requires willingness, willingness to consider, to explore, to remain open to what experience might reveal. The Buddhist teachings on rebirth offer such a hypothesis. They are not presented as dogma to be believed but as tools to be used, maps to be tested against the territory of direct experience. The territory includes moments when we feel a connection to someone we have just met, as if we have known them forever. It includes talents that emerge without apparent cause, skills we seem to have brought with us fully formed. It includes fears and aversions that have no basis in our current life experience. It includes the uncanny sense of familiarity when visiting certain places for the first time. These experiences are common, almost universal. Materialism dismisses them as coincidence or fantasy. The Buddhist framework offers a different explanation. They are echoes, traces of previous existence carried forward in the stream of consciousness. Let me tell you about Patricia, a woman who had a phobia of water so severe she could not take a bath without anxiety. Showers were difficult, baths were impossible. The sight of a swimming pool made her heart race. This phobia had been with her as long as she could remember, and no amount of therapy had touched it. During a meditation retreat, Patricia was led through a practice of tracing the phobia back to its source. She did not expect to find anything. She had been through this process many times with therapists. But this time, something different happened. As she sat with the fear, allowing it to be present without trying to change it, images began to arise spontaneously. She saw herself as a young man in a military uniform. She was on a ship. There was an explosion, fire, and then she was in the water, surrounded by burning oil, struggling to breathe, going under. The images were not like memories from this life. They were more like watching a film, but a film she knew was about her. When she came out of the meditation, the phobia was not gone, but it had changed. It no longer felt like an inexplicable part of who she was. It felt like a visitor from somewhere else, carrying a story she could now begin to understand. Patricia's experience points towards something profound. Our deepest fears and strongest inclinations may have histories that extend far beyond this lifetime. This is not a comforting thought for everyone. It suggests that the work of self-understanding is larger than we imagined, that the patterns we struggle with may have been centuries in the making. But it is also empowering. It means that the work we do now matters beyond this lifetime. Every effort to understand, every choice to respond rather than react, every moment of genuine kindness is an investment in a future we may not directly remember but will certainly experience. The Buddha often spoke of the path as a gradual one. He compared it to the ocean, which deepens gradually, not suddenly like a cliff. The implication is clear: awakening is not an event but a process, one that may span many lifetimes. Some people find this discouraging. They want results now, in this lifetime, in a form they can recognize. But consider the alternative. If this one lifetime is all we have, then the stakes are impossibly high. Every mistake is permanent. Every failure is final. The pressure to get it right becomes crushing. The Buddhist view offers a different relationship to time. It says, you have been working on this for a long time, and you will continue to work on it. The progress you make in this lifetime, however small, is real and lasting. It carries forward. The patience you cultivate today becomes the patience you will have tomorrow, and the patience you will bring into your next existence. The kindness you offer now becomes a seed that will bear fruit not only in this life but in countless lives to come. Consider the story of David, a man who struggled his entire adult life with anger. David had worked on this anger for decades. He had been to therapy, read countless self-help books, attended anger management classes, practiced meditation. Despite all this effort, anger still arose in him, still caused problems in his relationships, still left him feeling defeated. David was approaching the end of his life and felt he had failed. All those years of work, and he was still angry. In his final months, David spoke with a teacher who offered a different perspective. Imagine you have been trying to dig a well in rocky soil, the teacher said. For years you have chipped away at the rock. You have made progress, but you have not yet reached water. Does that mean your work was wasted? No. The next person who digs in this spot will find the rock already broken. They will reach water more quickly because of your effort. David understood. His anger work had not been wasted. He had weakened the habit, even if he had not eliminated it. The next version of himself, the consciousness stream that would continue after his death, would inherit a mind slightly less prone to anger, slightly more capable of patience. His work would continue. This teaching transforms how we relate to our own limitations. Instead of seeing them as failures, we can see them as unfinished business, work in progress. We can be compassionate with ourselves for not being perfect, knowing that perfection is not required in this lifetime. What is required is effort, sincere effort, applied consistently over time. The results will take care of themselves. Let me tell you about Eleanor, a woman who discovered this truth in an unexpected way. Eleanor was a hospice nurse who had sat with hundreds of dying people. She noticed a pattern. Those who died with peace were not necessarily those who had lived perfect lives. They were those who had made peace with their imperfection. They had stopped fighting themselves. They had accepted that they were works in progress and that progress, not perfection, was the point. One of Eleanor's patients was a man named Frank, a former businessman who had spent his life pursuing wealth and status. In his final weeks, Frank was tormented by regret. He felt he had wasted his life chasing things that did not matter. He had neglected his children, betrayed his wife, stepped on colleagues to get ahead. Now, facing death, he saw it all clearly, and the seeing was agony. Eleanor sat with Frank and listened. She did not try to cheer him up or offer false comfort. She simply held space for his regret. After several days, Frank began to speak differently. "I see now," he said, "that I was ignorant. I did not know what I was doing. If I had known, I would have chosen differently." This was not an excuse, it was an insight. Frank saw that his actions had arisen from conditioned patterns, from seeds planted long ago and watered by circumstances. He saw himself not as evil but as ignorant. And with that seeing, something shifted. The regret did not disappear, but it softened into something more bearable. Frank died with a measure of peace, not because he had fixed everything but because he had understood something about the nature of conditioned existence. This understanding is available to all of us, not just at the end of life but in every moment. We can see our own patterns with the same clarity Frank eventually found. We can recognize that our unskillful actions arise from conditioning, from habits established over time, from seeds planted in the past. This recognition is not an excuse to continue those actions. It is an invitation to work with them skillfully, to water different seeds, to gradually reshape the landscape of our minds. The work of reshaping the mind is often compared to training a wild elephant. In ancient India, trainers would tie a young elephant to a strong post with a sturdy rope. The elephant would pull and strain, trying to escape, but the post held. Eventually, the elephant would learn that struggling was useless and would stop trying. At that point, the trainer could remove the rope. The elephant remained calm not because it was bound but because it had learned that freedom from struggling was more comfortable than fighting against reality. Our minds are like that young elephant. The post is the present moment. The rope is our attention. When we tie our attention to the present moment, the mind initially rebels. It wants to run off into memories, plans, fantasies, worries. It pulls against the rope, straining to escape. But if we patiently, gently, persistently return our attention to the present moment, the mind gradually settles. It learns that struggling is unnecessary. It discovers a deeper peace that does not depend on conditions being a certain way. This is the essence of meditation practice. It is not about achieving special states or having profound experiences. It is about training the mind to be present, to rest in awareness, to observe without getting caught. And this training has profound implications for the entire cycle of rebirth. The mind that has learned to rest in awareness, that has developed the habit of presence, will carry that habit into future lives. It will be born with a natural capacity for peace, a natural inclination toward meditation, a natural stability that others lack. Consider the story of Alan, a man who came to meditation late in life. Alan was 63 when he attended his first retreat. He was skeptical, practical, a retired engineer who had spent his life dealing with concrete problems and measurable results. He expected meditation to be a waste of time. To his surprise, he found that the practice of simply sitting and watching his breath had a profound effect. His chronic anxiety, which he had lived with for decades, began to diminish. His relationships improved. He felt, for the first time in his life, that he was truly present for his own existence. Alan practiced diligently for the remaining years of his life. When he died at 78, he was at peace. A friend who sat with him in his final hours reported that Alan's last words were, "I'm ready for whatever comes next. I've been practicing." Alan understood that the practice was not just for this life. It was preparation for the journey itself, the long journey through countless existences toward eventual awakening. This brings us to the ultimate goal of all this work. The end of the cycle itself. Buddhism calls this nirvana. It is not a place to go or a state to achieve. It is the cessation of the very conditions that cause rebirth. It is like extinguishing a flame. When the fuel of attachment, aversion, and ignorance is finally consumed, the fire of becoming simply goes out. What remains is not nothingness but the unconditioned, the deathless, the peace that surpasses understanding. Some people find the idea of nirvana frightening. They fear it means annihilation, the end of everything they know and love. But consider, what is it that we love? We love our experiences, our relationships, our sense of being a separate self. But these are all conditioned, impermanent, fraught with suffering. Nirvana is not the loss of anything real. It is the loss of illusion. It is waking from a dream and realizing that the dream self was never who you truly were. The Buddha described nirvana as the supreme happiness, the ultimate peace. He did not describe it in detail because it is beyond description, beyond the reach of concepts and words. But he pointed toward it constantly, encouraging his followers to walk the path that leads there. That path is the Noble Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These 8 factors are not steps to be mastered sequentially but aspects of a single way of living that gradually purifies the mind and leads to liberation. Let me tell you about one more person, a woman named Grace, who embodied this path in a way that inspired everyone who knew her. Grace was not a famous teacher or a monastic. She was a retired schoolteacher who lived simply, volunteered at a local food bank, and meditated every morning. What made Grace remarkable was her equanimity. When good things happened, she received them with gratitude but without clinging. When bad things happened, she faced them with courage but without despair. She seemed to move through life untouched by the usual ups and downs, not because she was numb but because she was free. Someone once asked Grace the secret of her peace. She smiled and said, "I learned a long time ago that I am not in charge of the weather. I am only in charge of how I dress for it." This simple statement captures the essence of the path. We cannot control what happens to us. We cannot control the conditions into which we are born, the challenges we face, the losses we endure. But we can control our response. We can choose how to dress for the weather. And that choice, repeated moment after moment, life after life, gradually liberates us from the cycle of suffering. Grace's simple wisdom brings us full circle to where we began. We are here, in this human existence, with this particular mind and body, because of where we have been and what we have cultivated. We are the inheritors of our own past and the architects of our own future. This is not a burden but an opportunity. Every moment offers a chance to plant new seeds, to water different habits, to shift the direction of the stream. The path is long. It has been long already, extending backward through countless lives, through countless forms, through countless experiences of joy and sorrow, gain and loss, praise and blame. And it extends forward, offering countless more opportunities to learn, to grow, to gradually purify the mind of the defilements that bind us to the cycle of suffering. But length is not the point. The point is direction. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and a journey of 1,000 lifetimes begins with this moment, this breath, this choice. What choice is available to you right now? You can continue to be carried along by the momentum of past habits, reacting automatically to whatever arises, reinforcing the same patterns that have kept you bound for so long. Or you can pause. You can take a breath. You can bring awareness to what is happening in this moment and choose a different response. This pause, this breath, this choice, this is the essence of the path. This is where freedom begins. The Buddha's final words to his disciples were, "All conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your salvation with diligence." He did not say, "Believe in me," or "Worship me." He said, "Work." The work is yours. No one can do it for you. But you are not alone. Countless beings have walked this path before you, and countless will walk it after. The teachings are available, the methods are clear, and the results are verifiable in your own experience. Let me share one final story, about a man named Vincent who discovered this truth in the most unlikely circumstances. Vincent was serving a long prison sentence for crimes committed during a period of addiction and desperation. He had lost everything: family, freedom, self-respect. In the darkness of his cell, he found a book of Buddhist teachings left behind by a previous occupant. With nothing but time, he began to read and then to practice. Vincent started simply, watching his breath, observing his thoughts. What he saw was not pretty. His mind was filled with rage, self-pity, regret, and craving. But instead of turning away, he kept watching. Over months and years, a transformation occurred. The rage softened. The self-pity gave way to something like acceptance. The regret became a motivation to change rather than a reason to despair. When Vincent was finally released after 15 years, he was not the same man who had entered. He had not just done time, he had used time. He had cultivated seeds of patience, compassion, and wisdom in the most unlikely soil. He went on to work with at-risk youth, sharing what he had learned, showing others that change is possible even in the darkest circumstances. Vincent's story illustrates a profound truth. No situation is hopeless. No mind is beyond purification. No life is wasted. The work we do, the efforts we make, the seeds we plant, all of it matters. All of it carries forward. All of it contributes to the long, slow process of awakening. We have covered much ground together in this extended conversation. We have explored the nature of mind, the law of karma, the 6 realms of existence, the evidence for rebirth, the possibility of change, and the ultimate goal of nirvana. But none of this matters if it remains merely information. The teachings are tools, not trophies. They are meant to be used, to be applied, to be tested in the laboratory of your own life. So I invite you now to take one teaching from this conversation and work with it. Perhaps it is the understanding that your habits are not you and can be changed. Perhaps it is the recognition that your current circumstances are the fruit of past seeds and that you are planting seeds for the future right now. Perhaps it is simply the knowledge that you have more time than you think, that this work extends beyond this lifetime, that every effort counts. Whatever you take it into your life. Sit with it. Test it. See what happens when you live as if it were true. The results will be your guide. Thank you for walking this path with us here at Monk's Temple. May your journey be peaceful. May your efforts bear fruit. May you gradually, moment by moment, life by life, move toward the freedom that is your birthright. And may you find, in the midst of all the changing conditions, the peace that does not change. Until next time.